Well then, look who remembered the password to the second channel, or as I should now call it, the Slop channel, where I can just throw anything that I either don't really want to put as much effort into, can't put as much effort into, or just people wouldn't watch on the main channel. So what a way to start off this new version of this channel with the biggest news of the year of the Doctor Who calendar, which conveniently dropped on a Wednesday, so I couldn't even make a main channel video about it anyway, because I already had one lined up, and by the time I got to it, God, that iron would be cold. But yes, if you're somehow not aware, the news today dropped that the Doctor Who Christmas special has been cancelled. Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf have left, they've walked away or been sacked. We don't quite know exactly what happened there. And yeah, Doctor Who's future is very much uncertain. So let's talk about it. So first of all, a press release came out from the BBC announcing plans on the future of Doctor Who, which is basically them just saying, yeah, there's nothing. There ain't a future. So, yes, as part of securing the next phase of the show for future generations and in line with the BBC's charter and agreement requirements, the BBC will put Doctor Who out to competitive tender this year, which basically means they're just asking for people to co-produce it with them. Is both a good and bad thing, because yes, it shows that they still want to at least try, but it's not a good sign when they're having to continue to look for co-production people, because there ain't a huge amount of people out there that can co-produce, especially something like Doctor Who. For all the issues of Bad Wolf, at least it was people with kind of Doctor Who experience and people who knew the show. Yeah, it's very much a dangerous game to play when you put it out to competitive tender this way, because they're basically trying to invite investors essentially, which that ain't always a good idea. But yes, the rest of the statement. After careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf have collectively decided to not go ahead with the previously announced Doctor Who Christmas special. In order to set the show up for future series, it was decided that rather than bridge the gap with a one-off special, we are choosing to push forward to invest in the long-term future of the show. That is just kind of a load of bullshit. Whatever happened that has made Rusty Davies and Bad Wolf walk away, it ain't some part of a big scheme to reinvigorate the show. There's no way there's like a big plan in motion to fix things, because, I mean, come on, just look at the way it was left off. You can't easily continue there. It would have to be like a reboot, and I don't know if they're willing to take that kind of risk. I don't know if they should even take that kind of risk. I mean, but hey, at least we got some Doctor Who still going on. We got that CBB show. Isn't that great? Yeah. Oh boy. Can't wait to be making reviews about that. No, I won't, because it's CBBS. It's a literal baby show. You don't. I mean, I guess people probably sit out there reviewing Bluey or whatever, but that ain't my kind of vibe. Yeah, so it's a lot in these statements. And then Russell put out his own statement on Instagram, basically saying goodbye from me and hello to a big new future for the show. And it's a weird thing he said. It's like, as a result, there won't be a Christmas special. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future where no one knew what would happen. But now we do know there's no need for it. Again, that's just such bullshit. Because look at the state they left the show off. You do need that Christmas special to bridge the gap because of what Russell did by the end of it. Think of all those things that need to be tied up and stuff like that. Again, it's such bullshit that he's like, oh, there was no script, I never wrote it. It's like, you had people like Murray Gold saying there was a script. Why would they lie about that? It's just, I don't understand the person Russell has become with all this need to constantly lie and deceive. It's so strange. Yeah, I'm just really, really confused. But yeah, so that's the big news. There's no Christmas special. Russell's out. Bad Wolf are out. And yeah, it's big news to have woken up to randomly. And there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I mean, it's kind of funnily enough, a lot of people's reactions were kind of like, ding dong, the witch is dead. Russell managed to piss off like everyone on like all sides of the political spectrum, just like any level of fan. At some point over his second tenure, he managed to piss everyone off in some form or another. So people aren't exactly too broken up about this. A lot of people didn't like kind of the way we were going into this Christmas special and the way the last season ended off. So the fact that it's now being cancelled, people aren't really too broken up about that. And it's kind of a little bit schadenfreude, like funny to see this happen and everyone just to be like, yay, or oh no, anyway. It's kind of crazy to see that after kind of the legacy he had built up and the crazy news to basically be like, yeah, Doctor Who's cancelled for the foreseeable future. And a lot of people are just like, kind of like good. That's kind of what it needs. Yeah, it's really interesting when you study, and I'll probably make a video about this on the main channel. But when you kind of study the like downfall of Russell T Davies as Doctor Who showrunner and how he managed the most recent era, he, like I said, he managed to piss everyone off. He kind of went from this big hero that was returning to save the show to lowering it even lower than it had been before. So it's just this really interesting kind of arc to look at. And yeah, just Series 15 ended disastrously. It was the worst possible ending for his era because, you know, you had so many plot threads just left untouched. You had just awful returns of Omega and the Rani and things like that, and it just became so self-absorbed and obsessed with its own continuity, and it was just a recipe for disaster, honestly. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how it all blew up in his face almost. And I get it, like some of the issues weren't his fault. There were certain disputes with important actors on the show that kind of put him in a bad position. And from what I gather, those weren't even his fault. So yeah, he's not like this huge evil villain that tried to kill Doctor Who. At points, especially with kind of the way they ended Series 15, he really tried to make the best out of a bad situation. I just don't necessarily agree with how he tried doing that. But yeah, we have this really horrible cliffhanger we're now on, where the Doctor regenerates into, you know, Billy Piper for some reason, and it's clear that no one in production knew how they were going to resolve that, and now no one is going to resolve that at all, and God knows what they're going to have to do kind of when they do bring it back. Because yeah, we are now in the Wilderness Years 2.0. There's no future secured. We don't know what it's going to take. The BBC are basically doing the exact same thing they did in 1989 when they kept saying, it's like, yeah, we'll get back around to it. We swear it's just on a bit of a break. We'll get back around to it. And then, you know, 16 years later, it's like, finally, we got back around to it. So you got to buckle up. It's going to be a long wait to get more proper Doctor Who. I think it's actually in a worse position than it was back in 1989, because at least back then, you had incumbent doctors. You had the 7th Doctor, then they made the TV movie, and then it was the 8th Doctor. So you had these books. You eventually had audio dramas and stuff. These were all ways to kind of keep the show going and kind of keep pushing the timeline forward without contradicting the show or whatever. But now you can't do that because there is no incumbent Doctor. And yes, the Wilderness Years did do things like introducing the 9th Doctor and the Schalke Doctor, which then got, you know, retconned and overwritten. So yes, they could theoretically do that in expanded media again, but I don't think they would want to take that risk of like being like, hey, this is the 16th Doctor. He's only in comics, or he's only in books, and he's only in audio dramas, because that would be a lot. And I don't even know if Big Finish would be able to kind of try and tie up that continuity gap in the same way they tried to tie up the 6th to 7th Doctor's regeneration. It's just in a really horrible situation right now where they can't do anything with this weird Rose not Doctor character because that was Russell's idea, and the next showrunner isn't going to want to touch that or pick up from there. So what do they do with it? How do they start afresh? Where do they go with that? It's just a horrible position for the show to be in. That would have been so much easier if they just hadn't done the whole Rose Billy Piper thing. If they just had the 15th Doctor start to regenerate and then left that on, but if that was the cliffhanger, you could easily pick up from there. With this whole weird gap now, it's just any way you try and bring it back would need to somehow acknowledge that whole ending. Unless, again, yeah, you reboot it from scratch, which I don't think anyone would like. I think that would be a horrible idea. Like I said, it's the worst way for this era to have ended. There's so many plot threads left untouched and unresolved, with like the God stuff, with like Ruby's, all her character stuff, all the Poppy stuff with Susan, the Rogue stuff. And yeah, there's way too many things. And the boss, remember all that stuff? Well, yeah, we'll never find out who the boss was. I don't even think Russell knew. It's just not a great position. And like I said, it's a worse position than the first Wilderness Years. And I don't know, it might not even come back for even longer. It might take a really long time for it to come back, because I don't think anyone wants to touch it at the moment. It's such a poison chalice of a show. It's just too poisoned at the moment. It needs quite a while for things to kind of wear off and for people to miss the show rather than wanting it to go away. Because if you kind of give it long enough and people want the show to come back and they'll then be happy about it and excited for it, you kind of need to give that time. And that could take quite a few years for kind of the whole current atmosphere to wear off. And yeah, it might never even come back at all. And I mean, I hope that's not the case, because I don't want the last ever episode of Doctor Who to be that, or like the last ever on-screen Doctor Who stuff to be War Between the Land and the Sea, because then maybe one day I'll have to go and watch that, and I don't really want to do that. And yeah, how does this affect me and my channel and everything? It's bittersweet, of course. Like, I've spent the last almost decade making Doctor Who videos. It's a huge thing for me. It's a huge creative outlet. I love talking about the show. And, you know, even though I've tried to transition away to other things, you guys just want me to do Doctor Who stuff. And I know I said I wanted Russell T Davies gone and then I can cover Doctor Who again going forward. And yes, I can do that now. If they were to announce the new series next year and Russell T Davies isn't involved, then I'll cover it. You know, my stipulation was, as long as he's still in charge, I'm not going to cover anything that comes out in the future. And I honoured that. I didn't talk about War Between the Land and the Sea. Like I said, I still haven't even watched it. I had no plans on watching the Christmas special. I had no plans on reviewing it. So the cancellation of it doesn't really affect me negatively in any way. If anything, it affects me positively, because now I can talk about things. But it's still bittersweet to see the show in the state it's in. I didn't want it to go this way, because why would you want your favourite show to get cancelled horribly? And like in a random press release on a Wednesday in the middle of the year. It seems like an absolute shit show, honestly. I know, yeah, I can swear on this channel, can't I? Because I don't need to worry about monetization. That's fun. But yeah, it's bittersweet to see it all go tits up like this, and for it all to just decline the way it has. And I don't really know how it's gonna go from here. I don't know if like how that will affect my channel. If there's like just no interest in Doctor Who going forward, maybe it actually might turn around, and where you get the nostalgia for it kind of means people are more likely to watch videos. But I don't know. There's too much inside baseball, like business talk there. Yeah, the future of Doctor Who is very uncertain. It's like I said, the cliffhanger is unresolved. There's no idea on who's going to take over in any of the roles or anything like that. Everything is just very murky and uncertain and chaotic. And it's bittersweet, because I think this is still what Doctor Who needs. It needs to just take a step back and refresh and clean its slate. Obviously, these are the worst possible circumstances to do that, with such a continuity heavy ending to try and navigate around. But where we stand now, we can hopefully approach it from a fresher angle, and it can fix itself. And this is a video I've been planning on for a while, and now I guess I can finally write it. But it's like, how does Doctor Who fix itself? I think there are loads of different avenues it could go down, but the main thing is younger, fresher voices. We've had the same fan club for 40 odd years in charge of Doctor Who over the last 20, because these were fans like Russell, like Chibnall, like Moffat, who were fans during the late 80s, became writers in the 90s, and then wrote for the show in the 2000s and beyond, and kind of managed it. And we've only had 3 showrunners in like 21 years. That's kind of crazy to think about, with a show that constantly has to change and refresh itself. And I think it's very much time for that kind of generation of Doctor Who fans to pass it on, and to let the younger, more up-and-coming fans take over. Because there's a lot of stuff out there. There are a lot of fans that are creating and writing and want to break through, but haven't been able to, because of Russell and Chibnall and their preferred writers, or where they prefer to go to look for writers and things like that. Whereas there's a huge hungry fan base full of ideas, full of creativity, that would bite your hand off to be able to be in charge of Doctor Who and to bring it back. And I think the BBC really needs to look at that, and look at people who very much care about the show, but obviously within reason, of course. We don't want the same kind of fan brain that has cursed Doctor Who over the last 3 or so years since Russell came back over, where it's like, yes, let's bring back this character, reference this character. It's like, no, we need to have a healthier balance of figuring out where you can go going forward, rather than just trying to rely on the past. I think in the long term, things should hopefully be fine. You know, there's still there's still interest in the show, and as a franchise across the world, it's still a big science fiction property. People do care about it. People do love it. And again, I think with time away, it might help the show going forward. And in whatever form it comes back in, it will hopefully be better with that time away. But this news today, I think, was overdue. I think the Christmas special was probably always going to be a disaster, because there's no way you can easily resolve that that cliffhanger without it being a mess. In fact, like, the only problem I have with all this news is that cliffhanger is going to be unresolved. If they had not even made that cliffhanger, this would be fine. It's just the fact we still have that cliffhanger that overshadows everything and makes things really awkward going forward. But aside from that, I honestly do not mind this news. I think it's overdue that Russell and Bad Wolf move on. I think they did not do justice to the show. They did not treat it the way that they had previously. I think it was just a complete mess. But yeah, that's kind of just my general thoughts on this and a bit of a sloppy ramble. But I will, again, I will say, there's still loads of Doctor Who out there to listen to read, to use your eyes to perceive. Yes, the show has always been the main kind of centerpiece of Doctor Who, but there is just still so much out there, and I highly recommend exploring that. And, come up with your own ideas. That's always a fun thing to do. I mean, hey, I've been trying to push through my own fan project for a while now. I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. Hopefully it can come out this year. But yeah, there's so much to see, so much to read, so much to listen to, so much to enjoy. And I really recommend, if there's not going to be any Doctor Who on TV for a long time, explore the expanded media universe. That's what it's there for. It's there to complement the show. It's there, like in the Wilderness Years, to keep the flame burning and for us all to enjoy. So who knows what the future holds for Doctor Who now, but at least we can safely now be assured that I will be able to cover it, because Russell T Davies is gone. Christopher Eccleston might even return now, because they sacked Russell T Davies, they sacked Judy Gardner, they sacked Jane Chantra, they sacked Phil Collinson, so maybe he'll come back. We can only hope. maybe he's getting a little bit nervous now, because he was like, shit, I didn't realize they'd do all those at once. Now I might have to come back. I don't know. But that's it for this kind of slop ramble video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give this second channel some love. I will be trying to upload to it more. And yeah, just have a nice day. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.